Welcome to the deep dive. We basically take a whole stack of sources, articles, notes, research, and boil it all down to the essentials. It's kind of your shortcut to getting really informed, maybe with a few surprising facts thrown in. Today we're diving into something huge, something that's, well, changing everything as we speak. Artificial intelligence. We've pulled together thoughts from some really key players, people like Sam Altman from OpenAI, Elon Musk, commentators like Andrew Yang, Tom Bilyeu. A real mix.
Yeah, in this deep dive, it's really about getting a handle on just how fast AI is moving. Like, the speed is dizzying. We'll look at how it's hitting our lives right now, our jobs, the big geopolitical picture, and, ultimately, what does it all mean for us, for human purpose? How do we navigate all this? It's unprecedented, really.
It absolutely is. It's a lot to take in. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it, in this AI world, what does being human even mean anymore, and how do we, thrive? So let's try and connect those dots. Let's unpack it. Okay, let's start with the stuff we can see right now. The immediate impact AI is having, especially on work and just daily life. Andrew Yang, who's been warning about automation for years, he actually said recently AI is here even faster than he thought just a few years ago, like 2019, 2020.
Right. That's a big statement from him. And what's really striking, it isn't just that jobs are changing, but the speed, the breadth of it. Yang points out CEOs are already replacing thousands of customer service workers with AI, whole design teams, even coders.
Wow, even coders.
Yeah. So this isn't some far off thing. It's creating real problems right now for, say, new computer science grads, entry-level white-collar folks trying to find that first job.
Yeah.
And it's not just offices. Think about truck driving, the most common job in, 29 states?
Right.
It's directly threatened by these robot trucks that are just starting to hit the roads now.
So it's more than just replacing jobs. It's like a fundamental shift in how businesses are even thinking about operating. You mentioned Amazon's Andy Jassy telling teams to get more done with scrappier teams. What does that really mean?
Well, connect that to the bigger trend. It means maybe a department that had, say, 6 coders or designers might soon just have one person, but empowered by AI. Historically, seeing a company hire more people was a good sign, right?
Yeah,
growth.
Definitely.
But soon, maybe a high headcount is actually a bad sign. It might mean they're not using AI effectively. The key thing is productivity per person is just set to explode. And that changes everything about business model.
That's fascinating. So, okay, beyond work, how is AI creeping into our everyday lives? You mentioned Sam Altman using ChatGPT as a new parent. How did that work?
Yeah, he apparently found it really helpful in those early weeks, constantly asking questions about baby development stages, that kind of thing. And he paints this picture where kids born today, they'll look back at our time as prehistoric. They'll just use AI naturally, intuitively. He even mentioned kids using the AI voice mode. A kid could talk to it about Thomas the Tank Engine for an hour straight.
An hour. Wow.
Yeah. So the insight is just how quickly AI is becoming this everyday thing, even for the youngest kids.
That sounds super convenient, but also, I don't know, a bit unsettling. What are the downsides Altman mentioned? The new problems we need to watch out for.
Oh, he definitely acknowledged there will be issues.
Yeah.
A big one is people forming these parasocial relationships with AI, basically getting attached to it like it's a person. Society's going to need to figure out new guardrails for that.
Right, like boundaries.
Exactly. And in schools, he said, AI can be very good if it's used alongside a good teacher and curriculum, but it can also just become a homework crutch, which isn't helpful.
Yeah, I can see that.
So the takeaways, huge benefits, but we're also creating totally new social challenges that we need to think about pretty carefully.
And looking ahead, ChatGPT itself is apparently going to be totally different in 5 years, which is hard to even imagine. But what about all those model names? GPT-4o, Forum Mini-High, GPT-5, it gets confusing trying to keep track.
Yeah, that's definitely a challenge for OpenAI, just keeping things clear for users. But focusing on the user experience itself, Altman mentioned the memory feature as a favorite recent addition.
Oh yeah, the memory feature. How does that work again?
It basically lets the AI remember stuff from your past conversations, so it understands your context better, which means it can give you super, super helpful answers, even if you don't give it a ton of detail this time around.
Okay, that makes sense.
So the big shift here is AI moving from being just a stateless chat bot, forgets everything each time, to becoming this really personalized, context-aware assistant.
But that raises privacy concerns, right, if it's remembering everything.
Huge concerns, yeah. OpenAI is actually fighting a legal request from the New York Times right now. The Times wants them to keep user chat records for longer than 30 days, but OpenAI is pushing back, saying privacy is a core principle.
Interesting. And what about ads? Is that coming to ChatGPT?
Well, they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Altman talked about the very high degree of trust people have in the AI right now. And there's a big risk of a trust-destroying moment if they start tweaking the AI's answers to please advertisers.
Yeah, that would feel wrong.
Exactly. So the insight is, for AI to really work well and be trusted, it needs to feel impartial. Ads could really undermine that.
Okay, so we've talked about the immediate impact, but the thing that just keeps coming up in these sources, the thing that kind of blows your mind is the speed, the acceleration. Andrew Yang called this whole thing the most dramatic thing that's happened to our society in history, even the most radical breakthrough.
Yeah.
And Tom Bilyeu predicts, pretty bluntly, over the next 2 years, the life you know will vanish.
I mean, how fast are we really talking? We're talking incredibly fast. Sam Altman put a number on it. AI progressing at about 300% year over year.
300%.
Yeah. And because that compounds, think about it, in 2 years, that's 16 times your starting condition. 3 years, 64 times.
Whoa.
So the core idea is this isn't just steady linear progress. It's exponential. The future is coming way faster, and it's going to hit way harder than most of us expect.
Yeah.
And it's not just chatbots getting smarter. AI is already doing some truly radical things.
Okay, like what? Give us some examples beyond just conversation.
Well, for starters, AI solved the protein folding grand challenge. That's something scientists struggled with for like 50 years.
Right, I remember hearing about that.
It's creating totally new gene editing tools. It's proving complex math theorems. And in medicine, it's improving diagnoses, speeding up drug discovery.
Yeah.
It can even spot some tumors up to 4 years earlier than human doctors. We've got over 950 FDA-approved AI medical devices already.
950?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. And beyond science, it's improving basic coding languages like C++, Y. It's putting Hollywood-level filmmaking and music tools in the hands of regular people. And don't forget, industrial robots. There are millions working in factories right now.
So what's the common thread there? What does all that tell us?
It tells us AI isn't just doing things faster. It's doing things differently. It's finding solutions to problems that have completely stumped humans for decades. It's fundamentally changing how fast science itself can move.
Which leads people to talk about the technological singularity, right? That point where change just becomes too fast to even predict. Ray Kurzweil puts that around 2045, which still feels kind of far off. But are we seeing hints of it now?
We're already seeing skills that used to take decades to learn basically becoming downloadable prompts. Think about Hollywood. Bilyeu says it's dying in real time. AI can compose an orchestra, it can replicate the voice of a dead singer, generate realistic rap songs.
Yeah, the music replication is uncanny.
And in coding, AI can write, debug, and refactor code faster than a junior developer. There was an example of a video game task, took 3 months, and 10 people now. It can be done in an afternoon, literally by one person using AI.
Wow, one afternoon.
Even writing scripts like this one. What might take a month could shrink to a week with AI. And soon, anyone can one-shot a video in my voice or anyone's voice.
Okay, so what does that mean for traditional professions? Lawyers, accountants, doctors?
Their numbers are going to diminish for sure and eventually probably eliminated. That's the stark prediction. The insight isn't just automation, it's the democratization of complex skills. AI is lowering the barrier, and that changes the value of traditional expertise itself.
This incredible speed inevitably brings us to the geopolitical side of things. The AI race. You called it a new Cold War. Tom Bilyeu mentioned Thucydides' trap, the idea that a rising power, China, challenging a ruling one, the U.S., often leads to conflict. Is AI the new battleground?
That seems to be the view. Alex Karp from Palantir put it very directly. Either we win or China will win. He framed it as an AI Cold War about national survival.
So it's existential.
That's the perspective. The insight is stark. This isn't just about market share. It's seen as a global power struggle with incredibly high stakes.
Which makes you wonder, why can't everyone just agree to hit pause? Given the risks, shouldn't we slow down? It sounds like a classic prisoner's dilemma.
It really does. But the rational self-interest for both the U.S. and China pushes them into this sprint into a high-stakes arms race.
Right.
Despite the dangers. Think about it. How would you enforce a global pause? There's no mechanism.
Right.
Plus, China has openly stated its goal. Lead the world in AI by 2030. And historically, tech races, nuclear weapons, the space race, they're rarely led to cooperation, usually containment, escalation. And the biggest factor, the cost of pausing while your rival speeds ahead, is seen as existential. You just can't risk it.
So a pause is just unrealistic.
Pretty much. The geopolitical drivers, the lack of trust, They make any unified pause basically impossible right now.
Okay, so in this race, what are the strengths and weaknesses on each side? What's the current state of play?
Well, China launched its national AI strategy back in 2017. They're building hundreds of AI mega data centers, often pairing them with huge renewable energy projects, solar, wind, hydro. They've also built 27 new nuclear reactors in the last decade. The U.S. built 2.
27 versus 2, wow.
But the U.S. still leads in crucial areas, like semiconductor design. And it controls key choke points, the most advanced NVIDIA chips, the Dutch machines needed to make them, the fabs in Taiwan.
So the U.S. has leverage there.
It does. But the challenge is China's AI models, like one called DeepSeek R1, they're getting really close to OpenAI's best stuff. Some say the U.S. lead might only be 3 to 6 months at best.
That close.
That close. So the insight is, the U.S. has critical advantages, but China is scaling up incredibly fast, especially in infrastructure and energy, and closing that gap.
And speaking of energy, that seems like a massive bottleneck for everyone, right? You called AI an energy monster.
It really is. Projections show AI data centers could use more power than the entire nation of Japan by 2030.
More than Japan. That's staggering.
It is. And as one source put it, if AI is a weapon, and you don't have the power to run your models, you don't have the power to defend your country.
So energy is national security in this context.
Absolutely. It makes any serious talk about an AI pause seem like pure fantasy. You need the power. The insight is that energy isn't just logistics. It's a core strategic pillar in the AI race.
Given all that, it feels like the push for superintelligence, for just massive amounts of computing power, is inevitable. Elon Musk thinks we're quite close to digital superintelligence. AI is smarter than any human at basically everything, maybe even this year or next.
Yeah, and he mentioned he initially resisted working on AI and robots, trying not to make Terminator real.
Right.
But he realized it's happening whether I do it or not, so he decided he needed to be a participant, to have some influence.
And he has some pretty wild predictions about robots too, right?
He does. He predicts way more humanoid robots than all other robots combined.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 times as many humanoid robots as there are humans, maybe 10 times.
5 or 10 robots per person?
That's his prediction. The insight there is this shift from just AI in the cloud to AI embodied in the physical world, changing everything around us. And meanwhile, OpenAI has this thing called Project Stargate. It's reportedly a $500 billion plan.
$500 billion for what?
To finance and build an unprecedented amount of compute. Basically, to make intelligence super abundant and super cheap.
A $500 billion project.
Yeah.
How does Sam Altman even describe managing something that complex?
He compares it to the magic of capitalism needed just to make a simple pencil. Tracing all the steps from mining graphite to someone typing on a keyboard. It takes this incredible, almost invisible global coordination. Stargate is that on a vastly bigger scale.
And he also stressed the importance of truth for AI safety.
Yes, rigorous adherence to truth, even if it's politically incorrect. He argues that forcing AI to believe things that aren't true could actually make it very dangerous.
That's a crucial point.
The insight is that for AI to be safe and useful long-term, its foundation has to be grounded in reality, however uncomfortable that might be sometimes.
So, okay, let's circle back to that bigger question. If AI delivers on its promise, if it gives us everything we want, what then? This brings us to Tom Bilyeu's Paradox of Utopia and that creepy mouse utopia study from the 60s.
Right, the Calhoun experiment. Mice given unlimited food, no predators, perfect conditions. And the colony collapsed within 2 years. Not from scarcity, but from abundance.
Chilling. So what's the parallel for us?
It's a hint, maybe, of what happens when we get everything we ever wanted, which is kind of what AI seems to promise. Bilyeu thinks AI will eventually take all of our jobs because it'll just be so much smarter, millions of times smarter. That's the projection. And he brings up the movie The Matrix, where the machines found humans couldn't handle a perfect world. The idea is that we're sort of designed to struggle, but technology keeps reducing that friction.
So the struggle itself is important.
It seems to be. The insight is that maybe our deepest meaning comes from overcoming challenges, and a world without struggle, without friction, could paradoxically be devastating.
A devastating utopia. That's quite a phrase. So if we're heading towards this world of zero friction, what does that actually look like? Is it all just the WALL-E future?
Well, the theory goes, AI figures out how to capture nearly all the sun's energy, driving energy costs to effectively zero.
Free energy.
Right. And once energy is free, robotic labor becomes effectively free too. That leads to this age of abundance. Personalized AI tutors for everyone, free housing built by robots, robot assistants for everything.
It's good on paper.
But could it lead to that Wall-E scenario? Humans just becoming passive consumers, obese, and riding around in chairs?
Yeah.
It forces the critical question. In a world without friction, without necessity, without effort, what is it that's going to give life meaning?
That really is the question, isn't it?
The core insight is that AI might solve our material problems, but it forces us to confront our non-material needs for purpose, for challenge, for meaning itself.
Okay, that is a profound challenge for all of us. So bringing it back to the practical, what does this mean for you, the listener, trying to navigate this? Tom Bilyeu gives these two really sharp, contrasting examples. First, 2023, ChatGPT, basically an unknown AI model at the time, bankrupts Chegg, a billion-dollar company, in like 72 hours.
Just wiped it out. And then the contrast. 2024, a 21-year-old college dropout uses AI without writing any code himself to build a startup that basically games Microsoft's hiring system. Lands himself $25 million in funding.
Wow, from dropout to $25 million.
Exactly. The insight is crystal clear. AI isn't neutral, it amplifies. It can destroy businesses overnight, or it can create unbelievable opportunities for those who know how to use it. You choose the path.
So, how do you choose the path of creation? What are the actionable steps our sources suggest? There were 5 key ones, right?
Yeah, 5 steps. First, master the AI tools. Simple as that. Learn ChatGPT, Midjourney, Claude, whatever's cutting edge. Get good at prompting like a master. Learn to chain tools together, build automations, maybe even fine-tune models. Stay right on the bleeding edge.
So become AI literate.
Exactly. It's the new literacy. Second, build something real. Use the tools. Bilyeu calls this moment a magic window because surprisingly few people are actually creating with AI yet. Write a book, build a tool, start a newsletter, teach a skill, make a game, license content you create. Just build.
Why is building so important?
Because actually doing it solidifies your learning like nothing else. And it puts you out there ahead of the curve.
Okay, master the tools, build something real. What's next?
Third, play to the fringes. Look for niche opportunities, areas that were maybe too expensive or too difficult to serve before AI. AI lowers the barrier to entry. Find those unguarded spots and jump in now, even if it's just nights and weekends to start.
Find the gaps.
Find the gaps. Fourth, find meaning by doing hard things that matter. This is about fulfillment. It comes from working really hard to get good at something you care about, for your own reasons, moving towards a goal you respect. It's about becoming the kind of person that you would respect.
So purpose comes from internal drive, not external ease.
Precisely. Especially in a world heading towards abundance, that self-directed effort, that meaningful challenge becomes crucial.
And the 5th step, it felt more fundamental.
Yeah. Number 5, fall in love and raise a family. Simple, profound. It taps into deep evolutionary drives, provides deep meaning and purpose. In a world where everything technology-wise is changing so fast, things like love and family are powerful constants, anchors for meaning.
Master the tools, build, find niches, seek hard challenges, and connect deeply. That's a powerful roadmap.
What about advice from the big tech leaders themselves, like Sam Altman or Elon Musk? What do they suggest for just resilience? Well, Sam Altman's tactical advice, whether you're 25 or 45, is blunt. Learn how to use AI tools. That's step 1. But more broadly, he emphasizes developing resilience, adaptability, creativity, figuring out what other people want. He says these are surprisingly learnable skills, and they'll pay off a lot.
So human skills are still critical.
More critical than ever, arguably. And interestingly, even though AI boosts individual productivity, OpenAI actually expects to hire more people after AGI arrives.
More people. How does that work?
The thinking is that AGI will create new needs, new roles, new possibilities we can't even imagine yet. And Elon Musk's advice, especially for engineers, is simple. Try to be as useful as possible to your fellow human beings. Focus on real value.
Be useful. Seems like good advice anytime.
For sure. And looking at new types of AI interaction, like that OpenAI project with Jony Ive for a new device, the idea is these future devices have to be way more aware of its environment, have way more context in your life. It's about changing how we interact with computers altogether, making it much more seamless and intuitive.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener, trying to make sense of this absolutely wild moment in history?
I think the main thing is AI isn't just another tech upgrade. It's an explosion of intelligence, as some sources put it. And it's accelerating like nothing we've ever seen. It's changing jobs, daily life, global power, everything. And it's forcing us to ask really deep questions about work, about meaning, especially if we end up in that kind of utopian, but maybe friction-free future.
Yeah, and history does tell us that big disruptions always create new paths forward, right? But usually only for the people who are willing to adapt, willing to move. Hopefully, the insights we've pulled out today give you a kind of roadmap, a way to understand the change instead of just feeling overwhelmed by it.
Absolutely. Because the choice ultimately is yours. You can stand on the beach and wait for the tsunami, or you can learn to surf. You can master these tools, build something that matters to you, find your purpose in taking on hard challenges, and really connect with what's truly important, like those fundamental human connections.
Well said. We really hope this deep dive gave you some crucial insights, maybe a bit more clarity, and perhaps a renewed sense of purpose for whatever comes next. Thanks for diving in with us.